Right. I and I today I never thought about it until just today because I was listening to some of your stuff. And I'm like, wow, you know what? Yeah, we don't have it out yet, so I'm not really worried about them stealing my files. But you know what? I should be, because they could be harvesting that. They could, there could be people out there saying, "Yeah, we're just going to hold it, and in 5 years we'll have all their information, and then I can sell it then." Easy peasy. So, so it definitely has to be a topic. Do you have any tips for companies that are thinking about how to even talk about quantum?
You know, I'm going to, I keep digressing back to this because everyone is failing at this. And the ones who really wrap their head around it and get very serious about this, things open up for them and things work for them. Data classification. I keep coming, it's the simplest thing in the world. It's daunting, it's overwhelming, and sometimes it's hard to do, and it takes self discipline, especially when a DBA's life is built around hoarding data. Right? I mean, they don't want to give any of it up. They don't want to know what, like, your data retention guidelines are and your data, right? I mean, they don't want to have those conversations. So internally, it can always be a very difficult conversation, but very, very stringent data classification and then access control. So access, I'm not only talking logical, physical, I'm talking system to system. I'm talking APIs. One of our clients, we just had them do an inventory. They realized they turned an API on 8 years ago. It's been siphoning very, very important data down the API away from the company, but the contract with the company ended 3 years ago. API
But
is
they're still
still
getting it,
on.
and
API
they're
is
still
still.
selling it.
Where are
Uh-huh.
you sending it? I mean, this is patient data. Where's it
Yeah.
going? Right?
Well,
So, I mean, basics, inventory, data classification,
yep.
access controls,
Yeah.
master the basics. Get those done and down, and so you could recite them in the middle of the night from a dead sleep. Get those working really, really well, and then grow, because that
Mhm.
growth can't happen when your structure is discombobulated.
I'm such a visual guy, so I love tools that kind of make data analysis visual. Do you have anything you recommend for, the common guy to start that process of looking at their data and then looking at their flows to start to evolve it? Because what I've noticed is you may think you have the full image of it, but when you draw it out there and you start following the process, you end up with a lot more questions and insights than you would expect.
Um, we have worked with companies who already have data discovery tools.
Hmm.
We have worked with companies who don't have data discovery tools but are curious.
Hmm.
And I do have a few recommendations. I can definitely give those off site because we're really tool agnostic. So if
Uh-huh.
anybody's interested, please get a hold of us and we can kind of chat about, what some of parameters are that you have, and I can make some recommendations. Um, you know, the best tools do have that kind of visual component, and I'm also very visual. Like any of my slides, my presentations have a bunch of
Uh-huh.
moving pieces. So definitely, definitely daunting and easier with the right tool, or with a tool with some sort of data discovery. The other thing is some hard human decisions, right? You don't need to have data that goes back 28 years. You just don't need it, right? And I
That's a
mean,
huge fact. If
and
it's more
and
than seven,
people
it's kind
want
of
to
stale.
hold it. They want to hold it. It's just, unless you can directly show, and I'm glad to see more regulation and framework requirements are coming out with data purposefulness and data minimization requirements, which
Mhm.
means that you show me as your business the purpose of this data to you, and show me how you've minimized it to that purposefulness. And if you
Uh-huh.
have extra, get the hell rid of it.
Mhm. Yep, and disclosures on that are a big deal nowadays. Well, it brings me to the question, am I getting this term right? What does responsible freedom look like in a fast moving organization? The ability for companies early on to start little by little to develop their governance, to develop their data extractions and workflows, and start creating their policies. What's the like degree of freedom that they should enjoy in there versus like, they should just lawyer up right away and start getting those 10,000 page checklists?
No, no, no. Those will kill you. Look, start with, so the most important things to figure out are, there's actually three. So the first one is, what does my GRC program look like? That's the first one you want to start with. Define which departments are involved, what are the key criteria you're going to look at, and what regulations and frameworks you want to align with. The second most important policy, and these do not have to be 370-page documents, guys. They are not, they need to just describe in the most lean way possible your operations. The second most important document is your document. This is when I use a policy. This is when I use an SOP. This is when I use a process. This is when I use a standard. Or you relinquish policies and you go straight for the SOP. Or you have a template. Or you have whatever you call it. Call it. This is called orange. This is called purple. This is called yellow. I don't care what you call it, right? But define those document contents, how they line up to those regulations and frameworks that you're going to adhere to. Define where they point to the other internal documents, who's involved, what the footer and the header looks like. When you use a definitions table, these not hard to do. 10 core sections. That's document number 2. Document number 3 is your data classification. Your data classification is by far the most important. And I'm going to tell you which departments are going to actually be the recipient of your data classification. Number 1, access management, logical, physical, system to system, your APIs. The most important data should be limited, have limited access. The publicly available data, go for it. Don't care. Next one, incident management. When something happens, what comes up first? Which data do I need to restore first if I have a choice as an incident commander or somebody working as a technician on the help desk? What system do I bring up first? It's based on the data. That goes hand in hand in with what data do I recover first if in case of an outage. So that's your DRBCP, right? So if I have 10 servers down, which one has my golden egg? If I don't do data classification, it all looks the same and it's flat. I need to isolate what is the most important data. Second thing, vendor management. That map that you've created, that structure that you've created shows what data goes to your vendor. You want to limit that as much as possible. Most vendor contracts say things like, we're not responsible for your data. You're not uploading anything that you can't afford to lose. You're not going to get your data when we break up. You're allowing me to send it to whoever the hell I want to, and I'm not going to commit to you any breach notifications. So check your contract to see if it says that. Data handling for retention, destruction, and encryption relies on data classification, risk management, change management, and AI adoption. So all of these things, so that is why it is your third most important document. First one is, how's my GRC program built and run? Second one is, what do my documents look like? What's my exception handling? Who approves this? Where does the exception get queued up and who decides on that, right? Third one is your data classification. And then the rest of them roll. Roll from there.